Madame Cholet was very busy in the kitchen, making a large cake for the Wombles' tea. She had a lot of mixing and stirring to do, so she asked for someone to help her.
"There is so much to do today," she said, "and I want to make some extra cakes for next week too." "I'll help you," said Orinoco. "Oh, what a lovely smell. Can I do some of the cooking, Madame Cholet?"
Orinoco was hoping that he would be able to do some of the stirring and mixing, and perhaps taste what was in the pots, pans, and bowls as well.
"Thank you. You can do the washing up," said Madame Cholet. "Put on an apron, please, and then start work."
There was a great deal of washing up to do. Orinoco looked at it.
"I shall need those bowls in a minute," said Madame Cholet, "so you can do them first."
Orinoco began washing up, but the harder he worked, the more hungry he became, but the smell of cooking was getting nicer and nicer.
Oh dear, said Orinoco, rubbing his tummy.
Orinoco is very, very, very fond of his food.
"I'm a bit short of fruits and nuts. I'll go and find some more," said Madame Cholet, and off she went.
Orinoco finished the washing up.
"What can I do now?"
he asked. But Madame Cholet didn't hear him. She was opening tins and boxes in the larder.
I'll have a look and see how the cake's getting on," thought Orinoco.
He looked at the big bowl, which was full of cake mixture, and then he looked at the bowl, which was full of nuts and blackberries. Finally, he looked at the bowl, which had Madame Cholet's special flour icing in it. Everything looked lovely.
"I'll just have one little nut to make me feel better," said Orinoco.
So he ate just one.
"And I'll just have one blackberry."
And he ate one.
"And I'll have a taste of the cake mixture, and then a tiny taste of the icing."
Everything tasted lovely, but it made him feel even more hungry.
"Perhaps if I had just a little more," said Orinoco.
So he had another taste, and another, and another. Soon his paws were dipping into all the bowls as fast as they could.
"Orinoco," said the voice of Madame Cholet, "what are you doing? Oh, you bad, bad, greedy Womble. You've eaten half of my cake mixture, so now there will be no cake at all for all the other Wombles at tea time. I am very angry. Go to Great Uncle Bulgaria at once and tell him what you've done."
Orinoco had never heard Madame Cholet sound so cross before. He felt very scared.
I'm sorry, Madame Cholet,"
said Orinoco in a small voice. He went out of the kitchen and down the passage towards Great Uncle Bulgaria's room. He was feeling more and more scared every minute.
"What's the matter, Orinoco?"
asked Bungo. But Orinoco was so scared he didn't even hear his friend. Orinoco stopped at Great Uncle Bulgaria's door. Then he thought about there being no cake for all the other Wombles at tea time, and how cross they would all be too.
"Oh dear," said
Orinoco, and he was so scared that he turned and ran out of the burrow as fast as he could. Orinoco ran and ran across the common until he couldn't run another step. He was the most unhappy Womble in the world.
"What shall I do?" he said.
"Chatter, chatter, chatter," said a voice. Orinoco looked up, and there was a squirrel. Orinoco said sadly,
"I'm a bad, greedy Womble, and nobody likes me any more because I've eaten nearly all the nuts we were going to have in a cake, and nobody will care if I don't go back to the burrow ever again."
In the burrow, Madame Cholet said to Bungo,
"Have you seen Orinoco anywhere? I was rather cross with him just now, and I sent him to Great Uncle Bulgaria. But I don't really want Great Uncle Bulgaria to be cross with him too."
"Yes, I've seen him," said Bungo. "I'll go and find him if you like." Out on the common, the squirrel and some of his friends were all looking at Orinoco. They were all holding nuts in their little paws. A big, fat tear rolled down Orinoco's nose and splashed on the grass. Suddenly, thump! A nut fell next to him.
"Whoa!"
said Orinoco.
"Nuts!"
And he stopped feeling so sad because he'd had an idea. Bungo was trying to find Orinoco, but he couldn't see him anywhere.
Oh dear, said Bungo. "Where can he have got to?"
"Orinoco!" And he opened the front door and started looking outside too, but there was no sign of his friend. Orinoco put all the nuts together which the squirrels had thrown down.
"Thank you very much," said Orinoco, "but I ate all the blackberries too."
"Chatter, chatter, chatter," said the squirrels. Orinoco looked round and saw that the bush behind him was covered in blackberries. Orinoco hardly stopped to think. He opened his tidy bag, and trying not to mind too much about the prickles, he began to pick blackberries. He had never worked so hard before. All this time, Bungo was getting more and more worried. "Orinoco!" called Bungo, but there was no answer.
"Do you think Orinoco can have run away?" said Madame Cholet to Great-Uncle Bulgaria.
"Oh, no, 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 I'm sure he will come back," said Great-Uncle Bulgaria. He went out onto the common. "Orinoco!" called Great-Uncle Bulgaria, but there was no answer. Orinoco was now a bit scratched and sticky, but his tidy bag was almost full.
He said, "I shall leave the nuts and the blackberries outside the front door of the burrow, and then I shall go away forever and ever. I ate a lot of the flour icing too. Oh dear."
"Chatter, chatter, chatter," said the squirrels. Orinoco looked down at his paws, and he saw that the grass was covered with daisies. He began to pick them as fast as he could. Soon his tidy bag was filled to overflowing with flowers. "Orinoco!" called Bungo. No answer. "Orinoco!" called Great-Uncle Bulgaria and Madame Cholet, but Orinoco was too busy picking daisies to hear them.
"The poor little Orinoco," said Madame Cholet. "Where can he be?"
Orinoco picked up the bag. It was very heavy, because it was full of nuts, blackberries and flowers.
"Thank you very much for all your help," said Orinoco to the squirrels. "I shall leave all this outside the burrow, and then I shall go away forever and ever."
"Chatter, chatter, chatter," said the squirrels, and they leapt off. Orinoco put the bag down at the front of the burrow, and just as he was about to creep away, out came Madame Cholet, Great-Uncle Bulgaria, and Bungo. "Where have you been?" they all asked. "We've been looking everywhere for you." All the Wombles were very pleased to have Orinoco home, safe and sound, and he was very glad to be there. He had worked so hard collecting nuts, fruit, and flowers that Madame Cholet was able to make a lot of cakes for tea and fill up the larder as well. Orinoco didn't eat all his share. He chose the ones with lots of flour icing on top and put them on a special tray. And then he left it outside the front door of the burrow for his new friends, the squirrels.